Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Very excited to be here. Just wanted to get the session started. Pretty excited. It's Friday morning. So before we get started, we wanted to know is can we start using the chat so we know how to communicate with each other? So take a moment and tell us where are you joining us from today? Take a moment and tell us where are you joining us from. I'm joining from Seattle today. Canada, hi Garnet, welcome. We have Cleveland, Ohio, fantastic. Sunny Seattle, absolutely. Orange County, thank you for joining us. Second is share with us what is the hardest thing you're dealing with your tech business. Go ahead and share that one with us so that we can answer most of the questions as we go through the conversation today. Share with us what is the hardest thing you're dealing in your tech business. Yep, transformation, Barry. That is so true. Deploying application, absolutely. You need some marketing mojo. Carnegie, you will get some, definitely. Winning enterprise contracts, absolutely. So the next question I have is, what do you need in the next 100 days to win your enterprise contracts? What do you need to win your enterprise contracts in next 100 days? There you go. Strategy, fantastic. Finance, yep. Brand positioning. You will have most of the best practices today. So we have really amazing speakers. And also, I would say they are my thought leaders in the tech industry. As we all know, the world is changing and transforming rapidly due to pandemic. And so is the technology transformation. So the digital transformation in the 21st century is actually led by cloud-based solution, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technologies. In the enterprise ecosystem, the opportunity is $700 billion. It is $700 billion, pretty big chunk. But the reality is 1% to 2% of the opportunity is made accessible for female tech founders. So today we really are here to share the best practices, really how to ask the experts so that you can implement those best practices today and also share the exciting upcoming cohort 6.0 for the Women in Cloud. So we're very excited about rolling out the next cohort, and you get to hear from some of the entrepreneurs. So as I talked about, we have some really amazing thought leaders who will be talking about tech building, tech selling, acquisition, fundraising, go-to-market. So really you're in a treat for, there's a treat for you. I'm telling you, as you hear them, I probably am going to take like notes and notes of notes today so I can implement in my own business. So people who don't know me, I'm Chaitra Vedulapalli. I'm the co-founder and president of Women in Cloud. Women in Cloud is a economic development organization, really community-led, to create $1 billion in economic access for female tech founders in the enterprise market. So we focus on 3 areas. The first being is to focus on female tech entrepreneurship and innovation to foster economic development in the enterprise ecosystem. We really want to see each of our cohort members are building $1 million in annual recurring revenue contracts, and whatever it takes to get them there is what we put a lot of emphasis on. The second thing is really build partnership with the Fortune brands, the entrepreneurs, as well as the communities to create the tech employability for female, I would say for women in our ecosystem. So really focusing on the cloud employability for women. And the third one is really drive nonpartisan political advocacy work to advance the policies that can create and retain economic access for women. So as we go through today's conversation, we'll have an amazing panel. So I'm going to have Riza come over. She is going to moderate this panel with all the thought leaders. So Riza, please take over from here. And I'm really excited to welcome all of you. Please engage in the chat, ask lots of questions. You have the best of the best experts in the industry to give you answers that you're looking for. Okay, with that, thank you, Riza. Take it from here.
Thanks so much, Chaitra. So before we get started today, I want to share a brief video from Gabriella Schuster, the Corporate Vice President of Microsoft, as she shares with us Microsoft's commitment to women in cloud. Excellent. So as we get started today, and thank you for that great message and the commitment, Gabriella. We love having the support of Microsoft. So I want to talk to you a bit before we get started with the panel. So embarking on your journey to creating a $1 million cloud business starts with building your solution. So Chai asked this earlier to you, but we want to make sure that you know that, what do you feel is the hardest thing about building an enterprise-ready solution? If you haven't shared before, go ahead and share in the chat. So my name is Raisa Noel. I am the Global Events Program Lead with Women in Cloud. And in my role, I focus on bringing our community together in terms of events, so all things virtual, hybrid, and in person. But also, I focus on the education aspect. So with the Cloud Accelerator, really making sure that our entrepreneurs see success and have everything they need to achieve their goals. And additionally, we also focus on the Digital Academy, where we have various courses that people can take to become ready to even enter the Cloud Accelerator. So this journey of building a cloud solution for enterprise ecosystems starts with building your co-sell partnership with Microsoft. So today we have industry leaders who are going to guide us with the best practices that you can adopt today to build cloud solutions and easily launch a successful cloud business in partnership with Women in Cloud and Microsoft. So in today's session, I want to encourage you to ask questions as you invest the time and energy to learn, connect, and get inspired. You can share and upvote questions in the Q&A tab, right up to the right of your screen there by the chat. And at the end of the panel, we'll have our leaders answer them. Okay, so with that, I would love to get started and introduce our panelists for today. So we have joining us, we're going to bring Chaitra Vidulapalli back on the stage. And then we have a few other speakers as well. So I'm going to grant them access to come on stage with me. We also have Colleen O'Brien, the CMO from M12. We have Sanjay Mehta. He is the Chief Cloud Officer at Tackle.io. We have Barry Russell joining us. He's the VP and GM of Cloud at Teradata. And we also have Aaron Northern, the Partnerships Lead of Women in Cloud. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
So I want to start with a round of introductions so we can get to know each other a bit. So to start things off and have everybody get to know you a bit better, and I want to encourage people in the chat to respond to this question too. So we'll go around. I'll ask each of you to share a bit about yourself and your role, but also answer the question, what is one thing that you want to be remembered for? So let's start with Colleen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Colleen O'Brien. As Raisa shared today, I am the Chief Marketing Officer for M12, which is Microsoft's venture fund. We invest in enterprise software solutions globally. We've invested in 14 different countries to date. I've been at Microsoft for about 10 years now, and I'm very passionate about startups and our corporation partnering together to drive greater success. And I love the question that Raisa has asked, what do I want to be remembered for? I've been thinking a lot about the WNBA. I've been watching more of the Seattle Storm games recently, and every single one of the players uses a game as a platform to advance causes that they care about, whether it's Black Lives Matter or voting rights. They're wearing the t-shirts, they're wearing the masks, they're using their interview time to talk about those things. So I would like to be known for using my platform for good, just like the Seattle Storm and the WNBA is.
Thank you, Colleen. That's so great. So let's go to Barry. How about you go next?
Hi, sorry about that. Yeah, hi, Barry Russell, and I joined a data warehouse and data analytics company about 6 months ago now, called Teradata. And I joined purposefully with a group of other leaders who all joined with a mission of making them cloud first and going through kind of a massive transformation from technology through culture across the company, which has just been an unbelievable learning experience for me, as Chaitra knows all too well. I've talked to her a few times about it. And candidly, it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. This is a great question and a deep one for Friday morning. What do I want to be remembered for? I think two things. One, that I on my career side, that I spent it trying to find truly disruptive technologies or build new technology systems that that broke the status quo and did things differently. And then I think just personally that thanks to Chaitra, I wasn't afraid to lean in to initiatives like this, and even going further in true DE&I, and although we've got a really long way to go, just trying to make it happen every day and calling it out where it's not, more importantly.
Thank you, Barry. Great response. So let's go to Erin next.
Hi, I'm Erin Northern. I'm the partnership lead for Women in Cloud. So I assist in creating and maintaining our partnership and sponsorship relations. And for what I want to be remembered for, I'd say personally, just being kind and compassionate and helping others. And professionally, being a servant leader is really important to me. I feel like the best mentors and leaders I've had are the come across, serve their employees, peers, and community. And I think that they make the most impact doing it that way as well.
So lovely, Erin. So proud to have you on our Women in Cloud team. So let's go to Sanjay next.
Thank you very much. I'm Sanjay Mehta. I'm the Chief Cloud Officer at Tackle.io. I've been in the software business as long as my hairline indicates, so for about 25 years, ranging from small companies to having the great fortune of having multi-$100 million quotas and big teams and kind of everything in between. I think in terms of what I'd want to be remembered by, I've been on my own little transformational journey. I think like a lot of folks, you focus on career, and there comes a point in your life and probably an event in your life that makes you change that. So I hope I can be known as a person who figured out how to make sure that EQ was as important as IQ, and that mental health was important as physical health, and that work and life could actually have harmony, maybe not balance, but harmony. And that I treated people with respect and equality in everything I did, and encouraged others to do the same.
I heard a viral quote in there somewhere. EQ is as important as IQ. Love that. Chaitra, last but not least, go ahead.
Boy, this one was a very deep question for Friday, as Barry said. As you were, I was like thinking, what do I want to be remembered for? That was very, very deep. So as I think about it, from a personal side, I truly want to show up for my people around me, that I am there, I'm present, I am available, so that they never feel like they're lonely. They have a belonging. There's one person, they can call me anytime, I'm there for them. So I'm present, whether it's my mom, it's my kids, or my friends, or my family, or the community, that I'm there. So I really make an effort to be there for my community. The second one, in the professional side, I've been in the journey for creating the economic access for women and youth. Actually, those are my two areas, the segment I spend a lot of time. But one thing that Colleen has sparked me is this 51% conundrum that women tech founders are facing, which is really a policy thing. The federal policy says 51% makes you a female tech founder or a female-led business. But if money comes from an investor, then suddenly the dilution happens. Now you lose your certification. So you either can get the money or you can get the customer. So this conundrum that we are living in, would love Colleen and all of you to really mobilize us to really change a policy and make equitable access for opportunities in the industry. So if we can make that happen for the tech industry in the next 3 to 5 years, I would say I think the life was worth living. And I think we beat the pandemic too. And we made that possible because it allowed us to go deeper and think about it. So that would be kind of a place that we should all be remembered for, that we made a difference on the planet.
I love that. Very well said. It's all about really creating that access, and those of you that are familiar with Women in Cloud know that that is one of our pillars that we really focus on. So thank you all for your great answers. I want to go ahead and dive right into to our discussion today. So Barry, I'll start with you. There are a lot of founders that are tuning in today that are early stage female founders, and they are working to find a product market fit, right? So how do you define product market fit? And what do you think is the single most important question that one can ask to determine whether you have a product market fit?
Okay, well, let's tease that apart. How do you find product market fit? Well, there's a couple of ways. I think the best way to do it, the way I've always done it, is working backwards and literally defining the outcome that you're trying to produce for the customer, and then going out and talking to at least, I don't know, let's call it 20 as a sample size, whether it's in a specific industry or across industries, and getting their feedback. And then once you've validated that and you've done your external research on the total addressable TAM, and whether or not you're complementary, which is a different addressable market opportunity than if you are disruptive. You're coming in with a completely different technology or architecture, because that requires a whole different type of customer education. And candidly, probably a lot more work, because not only are you trying to break into a market, but you're also trying to do it in a different way. And then from there, once you've validated that market fit, it's really up to those founders to determine whether or not their portion of that total addressable market is large enough to have a business. Now, you could say, well, it's $1 billion TAM, and I'm okay with having 1% of that. That's fine, which is different. And I'm just going to run a business in that and just try and go and get to that size. That's different than going and trying to get funding for a startup, and then going to VCs, as Colleen knows, and saying, hey, look, our total addressable market is actually much bigger than that. In the fullness of time, it's 10% of this. I'm just using $1 billion on a Friday as a rough number. It's 10% of that. And then it comes down to, does that VC or angel investor believe that you've validated the market opportunity, you have a technology that will evolve and be disruptive to address customer needs as they grow in the cloud, because that's where all the new development is happening. And is it worth them investing? Are they going to get enough of a return on their investment based on the TAM that you're able to address over the 5-year CAGR of that particular market? That's how I would approach part of it, and I don't remember the other part of the question. I apologize.
No problem at all, Barry. I think what you said was really valid, and it actually ties to a couple other things we're going to bring up later on in the panel. So I'll actually go ahead and pitch the second part of the question to Chaitra. So Chaitra, as you've listened to what Barry said about focusing on the customer need and the return on investment, what would you say is the single most important question that one can ask to determine whether you actually have a product market fit?
First is, Barry, all the things that you said, I'm just going to add to the top, but I'm going to talk from an entrepreneur perspective, so that way you have a view of as how you think about it. As we all know that we should be creating what a customer wants, but then how do you know what a customer wants? That becomes a question, and everybody's trying to figure out, what do I need? So here are some of the things that I have used in the past, whether I was in a corporate world or in First is signal. Listen to the signal where the market is going. And with pandemic, a lot of the signals were hybrid work, remote work, thinking about a lot of automation, migration to cloud. There were a lot of things. That one was a signal that the corporate leaders, the big hyperscalers were talking about, whether it's Microsoft, Amazon, Google, or Oracle, or Salesforce. They all had very specific signals that they were giving. So kind of understand the signal from them. That gives you a clarity on where the market is leading. I also look at the stock market too a little bit to see if the signal and the market are a little aligned. Are we going in the right direction, right? The second one is connect with the domain experts. Before you go even build a solution, talk to the domain experts and understand if the idea that you're thinking is really what they really need in the market. And then make sure that you talk to them and understand end-to-end process before you build a solution for the enterprise market. And the third one is pilot before, or do a UI UX and do a small pilot before you go implement. Do not spend the entire 401k plan before you say, oh my God, my ideas are not working, investors are not there. Let the customer work with you for this pilot. Co-create with them. And the more you co-create, you'll start to find the true market fit, and then have similar customers that you're talking to and see if that real answer, the solution you're building is solving for one customer or multiple customers. And then you will have as a blueprint to go to market. And I think then you can scale.
And that's great advice, Chai. So I took away those three things that we want to make sure that everybody got as well. Watch the signal and the market. So listen to those, listen to the domain experts, and then also make sure that you have a pilot and work with that UI and UX before you just like hit the ground running and go bananas. So I want to take the next question and go over to Sanjay. So taking in what Barry mentioned and what Chaitra spoke about, how would you, Sanjay, say, how do you build a cloud solution for the enterprise ecosystem? And how should people think about getting that product in front of the customer via cloud marketplaces? And Barry, I'll hand the second piece over to you as well after Sanjay responds.
Perfect. Yeah, our tee up on much of the same things, and maybe Chai's last point too, that getting your share of voice in the market as a young company is incredibly hard, and maybe even unfairly harder if you're a woman-founded and women-run business. So it's the rare company that starts from nowhere and turns into the giants, right? So it's much more typical that you want to ride atop the shoulders of those giants. So much like Chai said, figure out the signal in the market. What is Microsoft doing? What are other large companies doing? And how does your solution add value above and beyond those, right? Really to help customers. So I think that's really the critical way. And if you're talking about cloud, you look at the cloud leaders and figure out what they're great at and figure out where their holes are and figure out how you can form partnerships and swim lanes to add that value, and then build those partnerships, right? Organizations like Microsoft have amazing teams that are working with VCs and working for startup companies to help do that and to help increase that share of voice. So I'd say dream really, really big, but think about executing on a smaller stage initially, and don't be afraid to ask for help, right? I think a lot of folks believe they got to start their company and they got to make their name and they got to go it alone. And it takes a hell of a lot of courage to raise your hand and ask for help. And I think a lot of folks get intimidated by these big organizations and they don't realize they actually want to help. They want to embrace. And maybe one day you're an acquisition target, or maybe they just help it along and it makes them feel warm inside that they did the right thing. So I would look to that. And then I would look at what are the routes to market that they can help provide, and think of that in very atypical ways, right? 10, 20, 30 years ago, it's I'll hire my first salesperson, then my second salesperson, then I'll promote one to be a leader, and then I'll have more salespeople, then inside salespeople. You don't need to do that anymore, right? Customers want to find and discover and try products on their own, right? If you listen to the industry experts, 70% of the work's done before a salesperson ever gets in the room. So the buzzword today is all around product-led growth, but how do you get your product into a marketplace like Azure Marketplace, like AppSource, like other marketplaces, and get them discovered by connecting to those giants, and let the market find you as much as you find them?
Okay, so Barry, how would you respond to how does one get their product in front of the customer via cloud marketplaces? I know that you've had some very innovative work in your career in working with marketplaces. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. And I would actually, I'll defer part of that back to Sanjay too, because, before I departed Amazon for my next adventure, we worked with him a ton, and he's got just so much experience on how you grow that as an ISV. I think you have to rewind. It's not just about putting your product in the marketplaces. If you look at the Azure Marketplace, it's not a forum for customers to just come in and shop around and buy. It's not akin to a retail marketplace, and there's a reason for that. Typically, and if you look at the data, most customers who land in the digital marketplaces are there for two reasons. One, they've already been educated and gone through a sales process, and they've made a decision that they're going to use the Azure Marketplace as their procurement, subscription, and deployment vehicle. Okay, so that happens much earlier in the sales process, and the marketplace is injected to reduce friction. Or the customer is in there through some outbound, either persona or account-based marketing, which Colleen can talk about much better than I can. Not a marketing expert. Targeting a very specific persona within a company that is looking to solve a solution quickly, which the cloud enables them to do, and they're there to launch your solution and immediately either free trial it or test it with live production applications or data in some time frame that they've set for themselves. Those, I find, are the two types of shoppers or buyers, if you will, that hit the marketplace. So if you're expecting to put your product in there and have it grow, sometimes that happens. We've seen it happen in a few rare cases I can think of, less than one hand, 4 or 5, where that happened, and it just took off because the company happened to hit a sweet spot. Normally, you are educating customers through a documented use case that you've proven with very specific outcomes for a particular industry. And as a result of that education, you're then driving them to the marketplace to kick off a free trial or some type of test of your product. That's just my view. It could have changed, and so I would defer to Colleen and Sanjay if they see it differently now.
Thanks, Barry. Colleen, do you have anything to add there?
Oh, I think what Barry has shared here is exactly right. Like, you making your application as accessible through a user trial is a fantastic way to really accelerate the wheels of that customer acquisition funnel. So +1 to everything you've said here, Barry. we are all marketers.
Excellent. Thanks, Colleen. So I do have a question for you, actually. I want to move the conversation from marketplaces into investor relationships. So, Colleen, you're with M12, and I want to ask, how does one get access to investors for enterprise solutions? What tools should our entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs be armed with in order to be ready to show off that they have a healthy business?
Teresa, I first want to acknowledge that VC is still an incredibly inaccessible industry. There are so many walled gardens, and there are a lot of people who are working to make it more accessible and open. But I just want to start by saying it's really hard, and it's going to require some effort. So I will answer this question in 3 parts. Number 1 is going to be about research. Number 2 is going to be about networking. And number 3 is about building a beautiful pitch deck, which is my personal love language. So when it comes to research, there are a couple of different avenues that I'd recommend firing up your search engine and really diving into. First and foremost, start researching different VC firms. Not all VC firms are offering the same capital in addition to value propositions. Not all VC firms are investing in the specific industry or solution area where you're building your product. So spend a little bit of time on their websites, on their Crunchbase investor profiles, check out where they've historically made investments, and avoid reaching out cold if you don't really know what their VC value proposition is. Some VCs provide access to operators who can help you grow your business by working directly on your business. Some provide access to incredible founder networks to help navigate some of those same challenges. Still others provide access to customers that you may need. So it's important to figure out what you're looking for in an investment partner and conduct some of that research. It's sort of like a dating game or a founder dating game. How do you make sure that you're reaching out to and putting energy into building relationships in the right areas? 2 other places to take a look in starting to build these investor connections is through angel investor networks. Several lists are available online. Highly recommend diving in there. And then lastly, incubators and accelerators. Several of them are working with investors, among them the incredible Women in Cloud Accelerator. But whether it's 500 startups, Techstars, or Y Combinator, SaaS Launch Lab is another one that we work on with Project W. Accelerators have great inroads and connections to investors, so that might be an on-ramp for your relationship building. The next element is networking, as I mentioned. Look at who you're connected to. Once you've identified that aspirational VC investment partner, what is the route to get there? Who are your warm connections to get you access? Building those strategic inroads versus just submitting your deck to a website or reaching out cold is a much more effective way. As you can probably imagine, investors get a ton of cold outreach. How can you be standout? By navigating strategically to that person. And then lastly, as I mentioned, a really critical tool when you start these conversations is that all-star pitch deck. You don't have to write down all of this. There are several takes online. You can quickly search what are the important components of a pitch deck. But there are several of the things that Barry and Chaitra and Sanjay have mentioned here, talking about product market fit, talking about go-to-market. The most important of which, from my perspective, though, is the problem. What is the problem that exists in the world such that your solution needed to come about? Convincing people that there is a market for your solution is first and foremost an entrepreneur's primary goal. So keep that in mind. Other important components there, of course, your product overview, your team, your key players, your advisors, competitive landscape, go-to-market strategy. And lastly, this one does get left off pretty often, your funding requirements. How much money are you looking for and in what time frame? that helps grease the wheels on those conversations and gets you to where you're looking to go more quickly.
Excellent advice, Colleen. And I love that you broke it out in steps to make it really clear for everyone. So I want to talk a bit about, because today we want to discuss a little bit about partnering with Microsoft. So I'm going to move over to Chai, and I'll ask you, so how would you say that, how would you recommend someone think about strategically partnering with Microsoft, right? And what have you learned in building a co-sell partnership with Microsoft, and what are those blind spots that you had to learn and navigate?
Thanks, Raisa. Colleen, I wanted to add to one of the data point is when you're navigating the investors, you really need to know who you're navigating with. We actually worked with Emergence, and we got the database of all the investing investors in the ecosystem who are investing in enterprise solution. So it is on our website. So if anyone is interested, I'll put in the link. Just go download the list. It's a full CRM database that is available, and they have aggregated everything. It allows you to kind of really navigate. And if you need warm introduction, we can definitely make that happen. I just wanted to share that resource because most of you are thinking, how do I even navigate? We have that CRM in place. Now, coming to Microsoft, I can tell you is navigating Microsoft is navigating Disneyland. There's lots of cool stuff. There are lots of things happening. There are lots of amazing things however, you will get lost if you do not have your business idea in place, what you want to accomplish in that partnership. If you don't do that right, then what happens is you will be like going from one group to another, and they will be connecting you to lots of people, and then you land up with the same place. So a couple of things that I always say, start with the partnership, which is get your fundamentals right. The fundamentals is you need to have a Microsoft Partner Network ID. If you have not, get your membership done as quickly. Doesn't cost you anything, get that one right. The second one is also know which workload you will be working on, whether it's Azure or Cloud or Teams or Office. You need to be very clear what that workload looks like and what is your solution that you have built on it or integrated with it. If you get those three things right, the fundamentals, knowing which direction you're going with them, then you can go into the right organization. Second is create evidence. Microsoft ecosystem and the entire selling organization, they basically ask for evidence. Is it repeatable from a solution that can be deployed and repeatable in the sales? And is the implementation that you do is PR worthy? That is what evidence, not just case study, a case study that is PR worthy to get their attention. Third is focus on a joint revenue goal. So when you are driving your revenue, they also should be winning through the consumption play. So let's say if you implemented a solution in the customer, either you're buying down the Azure credits down, like in the senses you're consuming it, or you're adding more Azure consumption in it. If it's Office, very similar, either if it's an enterprise contract, it is going down, or you're adding more licenses that they have to buy. That is very important, which is a revenue play that you do with them, not just a consulting play. Most of the companies think that they will just become a consultant by just talking about that they are with Microsoft. No, try to drive as a more revenue play. The last one is partnership. They really look for is strategic partnership, that you are there for a long run, and you are in the channel actively participating to either win the brand, which is logos, or driving is a strategic play where you have a massive growth. So those are the kind of things you need to think about. The go-to-market with Microsoft has to be strategic. That's when you get the attention. Otherwise, you are just one of 365,000 companies in the ecosystem. So whatever you work on, create repeatable solution, create the evidence, get your fundamentals right, and then have is your go-to-market play with them.
Thank you, Chai. Well said. So Barry did send his thanks. He did have to drop for a customer call. So we'll continue the conversation, and Feranda has shared the link to get connected with Barry in via LinkedIn if you're interested in making that connection. So let's continue. I'd like to move back to Sanjay. Chai spoke a bit about creating that partnership with Microsoft, and I know Colleen also spoke a bit about creating those partnerships with investors earlier. So what would you say, Sanjay, are the secrets in creating an effective partnership? And do you have an example of one such effective partnership?
Yeah, I love Chai's points, and I'd probably add a couple of things. One is kind of the classic start with why. So why do you want to partner with Microsoft and Microsoft specifically, right? Not generically, but even more importantly, why do they want to partner with you, right? You're competing with your share of voice on every ISV on the planet, every startup on the planet wants to team up with the giants. Why you? So I think that's really important. And then don't forget about the human element of navigating organizations, right? There are all the partner programs and whatnot that exist, and I agree, those are table stakes and you have to do them. But when I look at partnerships, I break it down in a couple of categories. And I think a really important thing to know is there are a ton of people that can say no, and there are very few people who can say yes. So start to map that out. So you'll have your project owner, right? And they're typically influencers. And then you might find your budget. And that's usually where most people stop. I would encourage you to find two more folks in the organization. One I call the juice bully. Like, who has the juice to actually get stuff done? And it's not always the budget holder. It could be, or it could be somebody else, and you might need that combo. But who truly has the juice, the political capital, the wherewithal, the strategic lens to actually get stuff done? And the other one, particularly when trying to navigate an organization as big as Microsoft, is find your mole. It's not the nicest term in the world, but who's the person you can build the trusted relationship with, have that beer with, that'll give you some of the inside scoop on the undercurrents that are happening in the organization and how you're looked at. And if you have access to the juice and you have access to the inside scoop, then you have a very good chance of getting stuff done. Examples of doing that, I hope I have at least a few in my career, but I probably have as many failures as well. But I'll give you an example of when I didn't understand the juice, which dates back to my early days in my career, and I was at Hewlett Packard, and HP had kind of missed this thing called the internet. And I was in a group where we did IT systems management, and I was trying to do a deal with Netscape. And I had literally this deal all worked out, and contracts were about to fly and everything else. And I had project owners that were bought in. I had influencers that were bought in. I had access to budget. I had legal contracts and everything else, and I didn't have the juice. Oddly enough, the guy with the juice is now one of our investors at Tackle, a guy named Ben Horowitz. And Ben taught me a very valuable lesson without ever meeting him back then. And contracts shrunk, things got done, but it was a great example of not navigating an organization correctly. And we all learned great things from our when we ended up a bit short. So I'll see him next week, hopefully, and thank him for that.
Thanks for sharing that, Sanjay. Colleen, do you have any examples of an effective partnership?
Yeah, I'm just going to build on a couple of points that both Chai and Sanjay have mentioned here. Chai talked about the importance of building your brand and standing out amongst the Microsoft Partner Network. When you're thinking about creating an effective partnership, it's hard to start from scratch. Like me personally, I really rely on getting inspiration from what's already out in the world. The Microsoft Partner Network in particular, but several of these large corporate partner organizations do a lot of documentation of what success looks like. You can visit their websites, you can read some of these case studies, some of these press releases, but I'd highly recommend starting there. Like, what did success look like? Why was the corporation incentivized? Why was the partner organization incentivized? And understand what your why might be, and to use Sanjay's comment here, in those terms. Also to think about that why in the context of your brief, your plan. Before you get started in these conversations, make sure your why is written down. We've seen several startups sort of risk it all or risk too much or lose sight of what they're looking for in a partnership, tie their roadmap to a partnership that may or may not be for the long haul. So making sure your why is documented, making sure you're very aware of what the risks are in partnership. Those are two recommendations that I would particularly make here.
Thank you, Colleen. Great recommendation. So I want to talk more about access. So I'm going to move to Erin. And Erin, we know that you lead the partnerships conversation with Women in Cloud and those relationships there. And Women in Cloud, we have developed so many avenues to create access for women tech entrepreneurs over the years. And recently, there have been some additions in the opportunity pipeline that WIC and our partners have unlocked. So can you share with us how you recommend entrepreneurs get access to Fortune 100 companies?
Yeah, I definitely encourage entrepreneurs to join the WIC community and attend not only our 4 signature events, but our new monthly Fortune 100 Lunch and Learn series. So as part of our Fortune 100 initiative, our partners are hosting monthly networking events where entrepreneurs can connect with leaders from these companies. There's a power panel and a cloud solution showcase you can apply for where you can demo your solutions, a roundtable experience with Fortune 100 advisors, and entrepreneurs can learn how to conduct business with these companies like Accenture, and topics including co-selling and channel opportunities, corporate development, and company culture. Our signature events offer sessions like Cloud Exec Connect, where we connect women tech entrepreneurs and leaders across the global tech market to unlock opportunities, and the goals being to expand their network, create mutual opportunities, and to gain access to advancing your business. And you get to meet with advisors on topics, again, like investor relationships, business partnerships, and leadership development. And lastly, I encourage them to submit their solutions to the WIC Solution Marketplace because we do encourage our partners and community to browse those solutions in hopes of creating access to funding and partnerships as well.
Erin, those are great opportunities, and I see Faranda's been posting links in the chat, so we want to encourage you all to take advantage of those. So we have just a few more questions for our panelists before we take the questions that have come in from the audience. So Chaitra, to you, how would you define success in relation to the Women in Cloud Microsoft Cloud Accelerator? How would you define access here? And what immeasurable access does one get from participating in the Cloud Accelerator, and in your opinion?
Sure. Before I answer, let me share with a story. I think that will make it really real. I left Microsoft and said I want to be a tech entrepreneur. I had no idea what that journey looks like till I met the investor. They said, no investment, right? And I had no idea what was the reason. So kind of like grappling through it, I went to the Department of Commerce. I said, we as women tech founders, where do we get access? They sent me to a bunch of communities, but nothing really solving what I really needed was access. So because I came from Microsoft, I knew the partner channel very well because I worked in the Oracle channel, Microsoft channel, and I had worked in a lot on what that access looks like, because you get access to customers, access to tech, access to investment, and also access to talent. And that particular model was always there in my mind, that is what you really need as an entrepreneur to be successful. And when you're getting the investment from an investor, it's really putting into your go-to-market plans so that it can accelerate. So what I realized was, if I as a company had to go and really achieve the goal, then I had to really partner well with a brand. That was my why, is truly to get access to those amazing resources that were available for partners, from customers to technology to best practices. So I didn't have to really spend a lot of the money because I knew how to navigate that ecosystem. So when I saw that, we also created a Cloud Ready program before the Women in Cloud Accelerator. So we pitched that for a company like ours. We're trying to build a tech solution. I think we need is a Cloud Ready program, and we implemented in the US subsidiary, and that went to 5,000 businesses happened in less than 9 months, and everybody built is $1 million business. We knew that was a model that was required till I realized in one of the presentation, like there was no woman in any of those sessions. I met 5,000 people, probably 3 to 5 women. I said, oh, we have a gender issue here too. So I'm the only one standing here. And this is like a gold mecca available for all of us. Why aren't we really working here? That's when we went and said we need is a cloud accelerator with Microsoft for women tech founders like us, so that we have access to all those opportunity. We know it takes a year to 2 to 3 years, but even if you don't have the accelerator, it will take you multiple years because you will fail multiple times. So we wanted to reduce the failure rate by creating the right access. And that means we had to create, focusing them on a market, focusing them on the skilling, because there's a lot of skilling you have to go through in an enterprise. It's not that you're selling buttons or you're selling just tchotchkes. You really are building a relationship, and you are coming as a trusted advisor for them. And you as a company had to grow. And that's why we had that 6-month accelerator to help, and then provide the right access points when you're ready. Because we knew when you go in an enterprise what that buyer is looking for, coach them, get them there. So that's what, when you saw Kristen, and you're going to see Tiffany, and you're going to see Padma, all these entrepreneurs who are here in the ecosystem, they have really developed themselves as a strong enterprise-ready company, and they also have a solution. So when you think about the Cloud Accelerator, we built with the altruistic mindset, making sure that access is accessible truly. You don't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars in other accelerator. You didn't have to give your percentage of the company. You just had to put in a token of small money there, which is $1,000, which is easy, right? To show that you will show up for your own company and for your own self. And then we will create the incredible infinite access, whether you need customers, you need talent, you need technology, everything is made it so that you can really start moving up the chain. And once you win that first customer, the second customer, by the time you're third customer, you're $1 million business. So that was the vision. And I think by the last 5 cohorts, we are seeing significant success, 20 enterprise wins in less than 2 years. That is incredible. There's no other organization that can prove this type of impact can be done in such a short span of time. And I truly give the credit and gratitude to all the investors and the thought leaders who have unlocked their Rolodex, and they don't even say no. They just make that warm introduction happen, truly because they believe that women should have equitable access in the enterprise ecosystem. So that's my story, Raisa.
Lovely. That was so well said. I actually see that there are some questions coming through in the chat. So I want to ask one final question of Colleen and Sanjay. Just take 1 minute to answer. I want to know for each of you, what would you say is the #1 best practice that you would recommend to an entrepreneur to build customer demand for themselves? So let's start with you, Colleen.
Thanks, Raisa. I know that there were a couple of questions about marketing, go-to-market in the chat as well, and I know that we're a little pressed for time. So the one thing that I will share is quickly go to your search engine, type in marketing funnel, and think about each phase of the marketing funnel. Awareness, are you showing up where your audience is spending their time? Consideration, what's the existing or incumbent solution, and where do you have the opportunity to deliver even more value? Acquisition, what is the buy cycle for your target customer? How are you showing up just in time when they're ready to buy? And then lastly, perhaps most importantly, engagement. Engagement with your customers so that they are loyal, they become evangelists of your solution. Existing customers can be your best salespeople. So don't forget that last component to keep the flywheel going.
Thank you, Colleen. And Sanjay.
I'll key off the flywheel piece there that Colleen dropped and reference Jim Collins, the great author who wrote a book called Turning the Flywheel. And he talks about bullets before cannonballs. So I agree with everything Colleen said in terms of going to market, but fire bullets first before you think you have the solution, you have the recipe to drop a cannonball. Cannonballs are really, really expensive. And if you drop in the wrong place, they're really, really destructive. So be surgical, fire bullets, get customer value, build those recipes, get those customers to evangelize on your behalf, and the dollars will follow, but prove value first.
Perfect. Thank you, Sanjay. So now we're going to go over to the questions that we've received from the audience. We're going to take just a few minutes for those before we transition to the next part of our event today. So thank you, panelists, and here are some questions. So Chaitra, the first one is for you. Madhub asks, she says, thank you for your talk, and how would a startup with a great solution IP built on Microsoft Stack create effective co-sell model for mutually viable wins with Microsoft?
So Madhu, a great question. First is congratulations on building the solution on the Microsoft Cloud Stack. That means your first check, the fundamentals is right. Now, when you have to do a co-sell model, there are multiple co-sell models. One is generic co-sell, then prioritized co-sell, and then there's maybe another platinum, some kind of a co-sell is there. So you have to go up the chain. When you're working on a co-sell, make sure you focus on your industry, like very clear, one solution, one industry, and create evidence that this solution actually works, and then make it repeatable. Once you can repeat the implementation, the recipe is there, then you can go to the Microsoft field, which is in the ecosystem, and talk about is what the solution is doing, and if you can go to market with them. If they say, yes, this is what will happen, they'll say, show me the customer pipeline, and then bring Microsoft into the pipeline. So then when they see the action is true, the customers are raving about it, the co-sell becomes extremely easy at that time. But for now, based on what you have, you just have a solution. You have to make it repeatable, and also from a sales play purposes, as well as the solution implementation, and making sure that you are able to drive the revenue consumption of the Microsoft Cloud as you go through the implementation. That's when you get to a really good prioritized co-sell in the market.
Thanks, Chaitra. And I want to encourage folks to go ahead and feel free to upvote existing questions that are in the Q&A tab, so we answer those in highest priority to all of you. So I'll go to the next one. Saima asks, what is the best way to present a cloud-based AI-powered data analytics solution in the marketplace? So who wants to take that one?
So I'll start, and Sanjay, you can add a little bit more color commentary to it. Saima, the thing that you have to do is make sure you have a solution narrative and you have a win, at least a win before you go publish a solution. You can always do it, but make sure that you have a solution, what it does. Right now, the abstract that you wrote is very abstract. I don't know what it does, which industry it goes to. It doesn't really resonate a value for me. So think about a solution that creates value for the industry, and you're very precise. And once you are there, go through an accelerator once, so that you get all the things that you need to make your solution stick in the market, and then start leveraging the marketplace as your digital sales engine, so that you are getting consistent customers, and then you're servicing the customers effectively. Do you agree, Sanjay, that would be kind of the route for her?
Yeah, I agree. I think finding that fit, and Barry talked about it early, right? That the marketplaces themselves are amazing catalogs to procure and to deploy, and maybe some license management and other things, but not necessarily the best places to get discovered, particularly as the solution catalogs get larger and larger. So finding that validation and being very industry specific and having those reference architectures is important, and then write a really clear listing around that in the marketplace, and then attach it to the co-sell motion that Chai talked about. And I think the mistake a lot of folks make is they go to Microsoft or other big providers with their hands empty, and Chai hit on it. You actually want to go with your hands full, right? You need to prime the pump, and that seems funny when you're the entrepreneur, and it doesn't take a lot. Those 2 or 3 recipes, those 2 or 3 architectures, that industry focus, and then team up co-sell with marketplace and figure out how to work that organization, and you'll do well. And the other thing I'd add is I see a lot of companies treat digital selling marketplaces as just another channel. So they're already selling with direct sales or traditional sales in more established companies, at least. And they think of a marketplace as just another one, and they're fundamentally different. And the buying dynamic is different, and the benefits to buyers and sellers are different. So if you're a young company and you don't have the baggage of history in those channels, really take a fresh approach and talk to folks that understand digital sales and marketplaces as a go-to-market strategy versus generically. And I think you'll be on a good path.
Sanjay, and thanks, Chaitra. Chaitra, I believe the next one is for you. So can you elaborate on is the accelerator only for product companies?
I would say the accelerator will drive more value for an MSP, which is a managed solution provider, and then is an ISV, which is an independent software vendor, they have a SaaS solution. They will see a significant value through the accelerator. If you're there for a consulting, it will not, because we want to create an annual recurring revenue model or a monthly recurring revenue model. If you do not have those things in your projection of how you want to build a business, we are not the right fit at that time. So we are really looking for companies who are creating that kind of revenue model. SaaS is the closest, followed by the MSP models.
Thank you, Chai. So I see there are just a few questions left, but in the essence of time, I want us to move on to the next section where we talk about the entrepreneur perspective. So I want to thank our panelists today, Chaitra, Colleen, Aaron, and Sanjay. Thank you for joining us and for sharing your time, insights, answering these questions from the audience. And to our audience members, what we're going to do, we'll take note of those questions that you shared, and be sure to share the answers in our WIC digital network in the coming days, the responses from the panelists. So speakers, you can just go ahead and click mic off, camera off, and then we'll go into the next session. So thank you, everyone. So how did you all feel about that panel on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being amazing and you got great value from it. What's your feeling after getting all of that information from the panelists today? Let's see, share it in the chat. Excellent. I'm seeing 10s coming through. That is so great. So next up we have two entrepreneurs that have gone through the Cloud Accelerator. And I'm going to invite them to come up one by one to speak about their journey through and the impact that the Cloud Accelerator had on them, the growth they realized. So first up, I'm going to invite Kristen Miller. She's the founder and CEO of Stylize, and Kristen will come share with us. And then after that, we'll have Tiffany Stannard, the founder and CEO of Stimulus, join. So Kristen, go ahead and turn your mic and camera on, and you can join us on stage here. Welcome, Kristen. Go right ahead.
For having me. Thanks for the introduction, Raisa. Great to be with all of you today. So as Raisa said, I'm Kristen Miller. I'm the co-founder, CEO of Stylize. And I'm sort of in a transition phase because Stylize is being acquired by Neiman Marcus. So starting the first week in August, I'll be joining the Neiman Marcus team as the Vice President of Innovation and Styling. So it's a really exciting moment in the Stylize journey, and a great testament to the Women in Cloud Accelerator and to this whole community. So we at Stylize, we're part of the very first Women in Cloud Accelerator cohort. And back in the day, it was 2018. This was all in person, which I know in today's world is crazy to think about. But we met in person and had the opportunity to really experience at the ground floor of this program how the programming was put together and the impact that it could have on our business. And so at the time, Stylize, we were in market, and we were in market selling to very large enterprise retailers. So we're a merchandising as a service solution. We had some customers. We were about $500,000 in annual recurring revenue. So we were a bit further along than some of the other companies that were in the cohort. But we didn't really have ourselves productized. We didn't have a good go-to-market strategy. We had been in a rock or under a rock in terms of being in the market. We hadn't really talked about what we were doing at all. We were not out there in the world. We didn't have any press coverage. We didn't have any exposure. So it was really sort of early stages for us in terms of getting our solution out the door. And the Women in Cloud Accelerator was extremely helpful on a few fronts. So first, just thinking about how to package our solution. We'd spent a lot of time and energy and investment in building this great SaaS solution. But in terms of, transitioning from a great solution to how to actually get it into market and how to get adoption from these very large enterprise retailers, we were still struggling with that a little bit. And so working with Chaitra and the whole team that provided the content for the accelerator, we started to understand that really there is a formula for success when it comes to selling SaaS type products, and that by cracking the code, understanding that formula, that we would actually be able to get to market and get adoption a lot more efficiently, which we did. So really thinking about, how we put a pilot program together that's paid. So our customers are helping to fund our growth and development, how we structure that program so that with success, it automatically rolls into an enterprise contract, how to package that enterprise contract, how to package our services. That was so valuable for us. The other thing that was really valuable was just thinking about our go-to-market strategy. So we were sort of cherry picking customers one at a time and targeting, oh, we want to work with Home Depot, or oh, we want to work with Target, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that approach, but they were all one-off, and we had no notion of a channel strategy and sort of this amplification effect that can happen when you sell through a channel. So this was very eye-opening for us and really helpful as we put together a much more robust go-to-market strategy. And then the third piece is just access, to customers, access to exposure, thinking about how do we better talk about what we're doing and what are the channels to just talk about what we're doing. So we went from having no coverage and no press to, over the last few years, we've been featured in everywhere from the Wall Street Journal to Women's Wear Daily and a lot of industry publications, a lot of local press in places like GeekWire. And so that for us was, and local, we're in Seattle, that for us was really huge. And I think at the end of the day, just having a community to go through this experience with was so important. Being an entrepreneur, as all of you know, it's sometimes can be a lonely road. It's certainly not an easy road. And so having a community of people that really can kind of wrap their arms around you and you them as you're going through this experience is so helpful, so that those days when you have the wins, you can pick up the phone or shoot a text or an email and celebrate the wins. But the days that you're struggling and you need some support, you have that built-in support network. So in terms of going through the accelerator and at the end of the day what it meant for our business, we went from about $500,000 in revenue to through that $1 million mark of annual recurring revenue, which was fantastic. And of course, leading up to where we are today, being able to successfully complete an acquisition, which with Stylize was our goal. So just thrilled about that milestone for us. And so much of it has to do with the experience that we had going through this accelerator. So super excited for all of you. Certainly reach out to me directly if you have any further questions about any of that. Happy to connect with each of you.
Thank you, Kristen, and loved hearing your journey story and the success that you have achieved. And again, congratulations on your recent being acquired and moving back into like corporate world.
Thank you.
Congratulations there. So
Thank
you so much. You can just go ahead and click mic off, camera off, and I'll go ahead and bring up Tiffany to join us. And Tiffany was in our 3.0 cohort, and she's gonna share with us her experience and what her journey was like. So Tiffany, just click mic on, camera on, and you can join us on stage. Hi, Tiffany, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here. I love speaking about women in cloud. So again, I am Tiffany Standard. I am the founder and CEO of Stimulus. And Stimulus is a relationship intelligence platform that uses data and analytics to really help companies make better purchasing decisions and make sure that you're understanding the amazing women-owned and minority-owned companies that are available to purchase their products and services. So I was in the Women in Cloud third cohort when they first went virtual. I learned about Women in Cloud probably end of 2019. I've been in technology for 15 years, but this was my first time really building a cloud solution that I was going to be selling to the enterprise. Prior to that, I was doing a lot of professional services. And so we had just pivoted our product in 2019, and I was looking for a community that really focused on building an enterprise ready solution, a cloud solution, because there's a lot of people in technology, but I wasn't finding a lot of women in a community that really focused on building a solution. So learned about Women in Cloud at the end of 2019 and went to their conference in January in Seattle. And it was so amazing to see so many women building solutions in one place. And then I found out about the accelerator and I said, I'm going to get into this accelerator. I told the women at my table, I'm going to apply. They're going to accept me some way, shape, or form. So that was an amazing few days in Seattle. And then COVID happened. And then I had already applied. I'm like, I hope that they still do this accelerator. And then I heard in March of 2020 that they were, and they was pivoting to becoming virtual. So it was a learning experience for both of us. My previous accelerators were in person, so had to learn how to really build relationships online. And the community has been amazing. We had a small relationship with Microsoft prior to the Women in Cloud Accelerator. And our goal was to really expand that relationship, learn how to get on the marketplace, learn how to co-sell and co-market with Microsoft, but then also just building out a community of women that are building other solutions. So it's really important to, once you get accepted, to really be engaged with them, to ask questions, build relationships. I'm a component on relationships. That's why we call our platform relationship intelligence, because when you're a buyer and you're a seller, you just need to know, the right people and learn how to speak the language and how to sell your product. So one thing, I've been able to do with the Women in Cloud community is not only build relationships with other entrepreneurs, but other corporations. We expanded our relationship with other corporations and building similar partnerships and got funding from Google in that process, and became products on other marketplaces as a result of what we learned in Women in Cloud in the third cohort. We found new customers. We got additional funding from being in this cohort in the language that we learned. But we also had that community to really lean on, and then learning how to build a brand, not only of your business, but building your personal brand, because you want to be, known as a thought leader in your industry and be able to speak on it and be a part of these speaking opportunities as you're trying to grow and really sell your product. So, and learning that documentation, as Kristen, mentioned earlier, that packaging and what to put on your one-sheeters and your customer presentations is something else that we learned from the Women in Cloud community. So we doubled our revenue, we obtained enterprise customers, and we learned how really to price our contracts so we're not leaving money on the table. And it was a couple contracts that I almost left some money on the table, and through a lot of different sessions, learned how to tier our pricing. And from that, the enterprises actually end up choosing the higher pricing for our contract. So thank God for that. So now we're just learning how to really sell and market ourselves, how to really, establish good paid pilots. So I encourage everyone to participate in all of the sessions as you can. I promise you 6 months goes by very quickly, but it's an impactful 6 months. And I promise you that you will be able to not only learn how to sell, but double your sales, be introduced to a community that you can lean on, not only for encouragement, but for also allowing yourselves to be vulnerable in times when you really need help. And you may not be able to go to your team, but you can go to other CEOs that are dealing with the same things. And then also just learning how to really build relationships in general with corporations and take that to other corporations, because those relationships are really hard to navigate, especially as a small team. So once you have advocates within those companies, it allows you to really maneuver a lot quickly. So I really encourage folks to apply to the next cohort for Women in Cloud. Is one of the best experiences I've had as a company, and I know my team can say the same things. And we've been in a lot of accelerators over the years, but this one included speaking engagements, constant building of the relationship even when you graduate from the program, and just that community that I didn't have previously. So really excited to learn and meet the next cohort. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. What a great, great feedback on the Cloud Accelerator, and thank you for sharing what your experience was like, and letting the community know that you stand behind the accelerator. So thank you so much, and for sharing your thoughts today. You can go ahead and just click on mic off, camera off, and so welcome back, Chaitra. Now I know we want to dive into talking a bit about the Cloud Accelerator itself. So we've heard from the entrepreneurs that have been through the program. Now we're going to talk about some frequently asked questions, and also cover a bit of the general information that you need to know about understanding it, how to join, and what to expect. So Chaitra, I'll let you take the lead here, and we'll get started.
Thank you, Raisa. First is, Kristen, congratulations. What a fantastic growth. Let's make sure the transition happens. There you go. Perfect. So first is, Kristen, congratulations for doing such a fantastic work. And what I know about you is the thing that comes to me about you as an entrepreneur: engaged, dedicated, coachable. And that was the three things that we have seen the entrepreneurs who do have those ingredients in them, they actually grow. People who resist, are not coachable, they usually don't go ahead. So one of the things that you all need to know is the accelerator helps you to build that resilience as a muscle to get into the accelerator. And Tiffany, you did a fantastic job, because the things that you were able to pivot in such a short span of time, and the growth that we have seen for you has been incredible. So as we go through the accelerator, as we talk through it, everybody wants to know, why do I need to join? First, it was designed by women for women, so that way you know exactly what you really need to build your tech business. We are one of the top 10 accelerators recognized by Bazinga. So if you go and check it out, it will be pretty cool. We are as equivalent to Techstars now. And remember, we did not use a traditional accelerator model. We created an accelerator focus on access and making sure that you have access to talent, technology, customers, funding, making sure, and then readiness, the readiness that you needed to really grow in the ecosystem. So right now we are really good. And these are our lovely, lovely entrepreneurs who have gone through it, absolutely doing stellar work across 8 countries. And we are really grateful for Microsoft to believing in us and creating that access for all of us. So how does this whole accelerator works? I want to give you is the roadmap. So you know that it's not just like, oh, you came through accelerator for 6 months and you're done. No, we actually nurture you till you meet your $1 million, ARR. So you start with really getting educated and getting in the community. You have the solution marketplace, you have signature events, you have, get introduced capability. So we make sure that you're getting the access before you start to sign up for the cloud. The cloud accelerator comes in when you're like, okay, the consumer is not working. I need to pivot. I want to have a dual functionality of my solution. And I think the enterprise customer is ready. Or you're already working in an enterprise and are having a tough place. So this accelerator allows you to work for 6 months really immersive to get your 2 to 3 enterprise pilots. Once you get that muscle, that discipline, the checklist, then you are good. Once you have that, then we go into the nomination process into the Microsoft Startup Program. And that means you have access to $150,000 in Azure credits, experts, customer access, co-sell readiness. Everything happens here. And that is the place where you become it's repeatable in sales, repeatable as a solution, and is that co-sell partnership with Microsoft. Then you go into a digital co-selling via the marketplace, making sure the sellers are sharing your solution with the enterprise customers. So that particular pathway happens. And then when you're really, really doing good and you need funding, that's when we do is a funding and nomination into our investor coalition, starting with M12, Accenture Ventures. We are working with Salesforce Ventures, Chai Angels, Master Fund, and few other which are coming in the pipe. So it really gives you that beautiful journey map. So within the 2 to 3 years, you will be $1 million business selling software. So if that is something you really want, then you should consider Women in Cloud Accelerator. So going to the next one is, why do you really need to participate? You may be thinking, should I really, shouldn't I? Am I not ready? Most of the entrepreneurs really struggle with their own mindset. It's like, I don't think I'm ready. Actually, every one of you are ready. That's the first premise. You have to be in a business for at least a year and running. We do not want wannapreneurs. We want entrepreneurs who are ready to take action. So once you get in there, you have access to advisors, talent, resources, credits, and investors. We get you that. Acceleration, a lot of education and preparation and warm introductions that we do so that you're meeting with the right customer. Because as Barry said, you need to know the persona that you want to go. So we really create that, what you call as the Fortune 100 Lunch and Learn. So you get to know the culture of the company, of an enterprise, and say, how do they work? How do I navigate? They really share that blueprint. Our contributing community, we really are a community where we contribute for each other and we lift each other up. Collectively, we reach 100 million women across the world through our 27 partnerships that we have put in place. Impact, very impact focused. If you are in the accelerator, every entrepreneur will vouch. We do not talk about something like, oh, let's aspirational, nothing. It is like, talk about the customer, where you're struggling. Let's go get that one done. And what is the fastest way we can get you to win that customer? A lot of signature events, you get to get a stage. The biggest challenge right now for women entrepreneurs, they do not have enough stages to go talk about what their solution is. The entrepreneurs, whoever has access to stages, that makes that possible. So we have really partnered with many organizations to make the industry stages accessible, and also made Women in Cloud stage as an industry stage. And last one is investment. You are only putting $1,000 commitment because we want to know you're serious about your business, you're serious to and then we will provide you a 10x value. You get Azure credits, minimum $5,000 credits is immediately given to you. So that's already a 5x investment, plus the access to customer resource readiness. When you should have a customer and you should check off done, that is the value you want to create for one.
Okay, so as we give Chaitra some time to refresh and come back, I believe she's frozen. So that's one of the things that happens in the virtual event space. So I'm happy to continue here. Chaitra, are you back with us?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Can you all hear me now? Put it in chat, say yes, yes, yes. We will get through this one quickly. The thing that we have put together is the most innovative work, which is the solution marketplace. Thank you to all my board of advisor, and this was led with Barry to help us really think about a solution marketplace. This is a first of a kind for all tech entrepreneur solutions are in one place. Now, no company can say, I don't know where to find them. We are making that discoverable. So it's listed. We are doing strategic campaigns. We are generating lead, and we are connecting that to the bigger marketplaces. Right now, we are working with Microsoft, and then in future, Amazon, Google, Salesforce, they'll all come together. But point is, you should be on their marketplace, but we will be your promoting arm in a massive level. So right now, all the solutions are there, are getting featured, and the traffic is being sent to them. They are not doing heavy lifting. We are doing the heavy lifting to make sure you have that showcase. And then we have strategic showcases that happen throughout the year so that you are part of a digital campaign that is led by organizations. So you don't have to spend significant amount of money in the digital marketing. So let's do a quick video, Raisa, so that way we can talk about it. I think there was a slide we need to talk about before I have the video so people know what that looks like. Can you hear me? Yeah, there you go. Okay. Going to the next slide, Raisa. So here are some of the features that happened. Right now we are doing is the Empower Her Access. All the solutions have been highlighted. This one is, if you go on our network, entrepreneurs are promoting, we are promoting, our Fortune brands, they are promoting. So, and we are really grateful for M12, which is the Microsoft venture, what Colleen was talking about. We partnered with her to really do a spotlight of these solutions in the ecosystem. And the traffic that we have seen coming to your solution has been absolutely spectacular. We know this investment that we are making in making your solution discoverable in the enterprise ecosystem was the right strategy. The second one, we also partnered with Microsoft, part of the Build for 2030 campaign. It's a digital advocacy campaign with the UN to support the SDG goals. Most of the entrepreneurs who are part of the cohort, they got that visibility. The executives knew about it, the sellers knew about it, the field knew about it. So this was a fantastic way to kind of get the attention of the field and also get the co-sell ready. So if you're thinking about, I want to get featured, go ahead and apply today. We will make sure you're ready, your solutions are there. And whenever you're ready for the accelerator, we will take it. And then I'll hand over this one to Riza so she can explain how all the details work, because you need to know before you commit your 6 months. And when you commit that 6 months, it will be life-changing for all of you.
All right. So did everybody see on that video that it takes only 15 minutes to submit your solution on solutions.womenancloud.com? Miranda's just gone ahead and put that link again in the chat so you can get started today. Another place and a marketplace developed for solutions made by women tech entrepreneurs. So be sure to take advantage of that. And as we conclude today, just a couple more things that we want to share with you, so you have all the information you need to keep going on that roadmap to unlocking enterprise contracts. So everyone's still with me and feeling energized and ready to learn more about how to up-level your business? Let's hear it in the chat. Great. All right. Thanks, everyone. So about the Cloud Accelerator, Chai gave a great introduction. So did Tiffany and Kristen on what the programming is like. So really, since we've gone virtual in this 6-month immersive program, there's a few things that you can look forward to on a regular basis. We have office hours every 2 weeks. We have self-learning video lessons and resources made available, so you can go at your own speed with those courses we make available in our digital network. We have live chat capability, connections to the community. Chaitra mentioned our signature events, and Erin spoke earlier about our Fortune 100 Lunch and Learn series, where you get connected, direct access to these Fortune 100 companies and industry leaders that have raised their hands to meet with you and participate in conversations. We do also have a Get Introduced solution where you can request warm introductions with potential customers and advisors to advance your business. So the deadline to apply for this 6.0 cohort of the Cloud Accelerator is August 20th. That application only takes about 20 minutes to complete. We want to make sure that you get that in on time. So I'll have Verena post the link in the chat again. Go to womenincloud.com to get started. And that the 6.0 cohort actually launches on August 27th. So there's a couple of questions that we always get, and Chai touched on a few of these about what is Microsoft's relationship with Women in Cloud. Really, they were our foundation sponsor at Women in Cloud. They were the first big company to really say that they believe in what we are doing, and they opened up a lot of access to things that our entrepreneurs need, and they led the charge as sponsoring what we believe in Women in Cloud, and what we're trying to do with creating access for women in technology. And Chai also mentioned the cost of the accelerator. It's only $1,000. The reason for that is to make sure that you are committed to actually, following through with this. The value that you get is really 10x. Chai spoke about, how do you know that your company qualifies? And so I won't go over that again, but we do have some opportunities as well, because the Canadian government has committed to supporting Women in Cloud. And what they have done is opened up about 10 sponsorships in this upcoming cohort to sponsor 50% of the Cloud Accelerator cost. So if you are a Canadian company, you'll be able to participate if you're approved for only $500 for the full Cloud Accelerator. The time commitment that you need to consider is only about 2 hours per week. And that's real focus time, where you're really focused on driving your business, getting your exercises done, your deliverables, and making sure you reach that finish line. So it's not too much of an undertaking, but if you stick to that 2 hours of real focused work, you'll make it to the end and be very successful. The leadership team from your company can also participate. So you can have one C-level leader join you, and they'll get access to the digital course in the network. They'll be able to join on all of the live chats, office hours, and communicate directly with the Women in Cloud team too. So you don't have to do it alone. One of your C-level leaders can help you. And then the evolution of the programming since going digital, right? So Tiffany spoke a little bit about this, and we've found that actually a lot of our entrepreneurs really feel that in the virtual space, it's really amazing because you get to connect with entrepreneurs from all across the world. You spend more time actually nurturing those relationships and being able to work with each other and see where you align to build almost like a virtual buddy system of sorts. So be sure to join us and look online at womenincloud.com for more information if you're interested. And then just as we close, we have a couple other exciting opportunities coming up for you. On August 12th, we'll be having the new competitive edge, the customer acquisition journey through digital marketplaces. So that's the link to that is in the chat, and then also available on our WIC Digital Network. We're going to have another actual open house for the 6.0 cohort on August 13th from 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific. And that'll be followed the same day as well with a Fortune 100 Lunch and Learn session with Accenture, where you get to meet key leaders and explore how to build channel partnerships, explore job opportunities, and they'll also be doing sort of like a reverse pitch, and they'll tell you what they're looking for. We'll have a similar experience with Boeing in September, and then in October we will have one of our signature events, WIC UNGA, where we dive into the 17 Sustainable Development Goals put forth by the UN. So we want to thank all of you for joining today. I know this has been such a great experience. Thank you to our panelists, to our entrepreneurs, to the team at Women in Cloud that has made this all come alive. And we want to wish you all a great weekend, and we will be in touch. Thanks so much for joining us today, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.